So I thought it'd be cool to make a video for my method of planting trees. It's actually not really a method because I always change it up, never do anything the same. But I have a general method that most of these trees have gone in with, and it involves usually burying some wood. It involves some organic fertilizer or chicken manure, and it involves some of our homemade compost, which is just basically leaves from last winter that come off the compost pile. So right here where this log is marking, we're going to plant this awesome tree. It's a Makawa Hiro persimmon, or a non-astringent Japanese persimmon, and there's only one other on the property, so that's why I was excited to get one more. But yeah, these trees have just kind of gone in one at a time whenever I feel like treating myself to a new tree. So I'll show you the process. We'll dig a nice big hole, we'll bury some wood, a little hugelkultur, put in some manure, and mostly the big thing that I want to show you guys is that we've been always lifting up the trees, mostly for drainage. The soil isn't that great, but we've been at the same time collecting that soil to lift up the tree. We've been digging swales across the property. So I'll show you the swale where we get our dirt from for planting this tree. You get to see it all go in, mulched around the top, so that we can have it, basically get established and not need much care from here on out. Because again, we're trying to do food forest, trying to minimize the amount of energy that goes into this. So here it goes. Alright, so what you see here is our swale, and the swale is slowly getting formed as we plant fruit trees. And so this is where I steal dirt from. The topsoil here, the soil is kind of different all across the site, but in this area and in the area where we're planting our tree, we have some bank sand fill underneath. Probably someone came and covered the property with it at some point. But the process has been kind of deciding aesthetically how I feel the swale should go, and then slowly, as we need more dirt, making it a little bit wider. It's all about the same depth. Last big rain we had, it held water for 2 days, which I think is cool. It's perfect. Some things, you can kind of get a look at their soil profile here. It's pretty similar. I guess we'll talk more about it when we look at the one over by the tree. But a lot of sand in the soil, but a lot of good stuff on top. I am moving some of my weeds around. I have a lot of blackberry or dewberry, pretty low. This is kind of cool. This is that fill layer, and then the subsoil underneath. So if you zoom in, Tim, come on over, you can get this side shot. Here's our weird profile that's always different across the property. So, our organic layer on top, this is new stuff, fill sand, and then below is our black gumbo clay, which actually turns gray a little bit deeper. So great stuff, and it's just kind of getting mixed a little bit when we dig it up and move it around. So there might be something to that. But I'm going to fill up this wheelbarrow, and then I'll meet you guys back by the tree, and we'll stick it in the ground. Got all the materials ready to put this tree in the ground. Unlike the swale over there, the bank sand is a solid 12 inches deep. I did find the black, darker soil eventually, but again, this is our profile. The other thing about this area, there's lots of urbanite. So, filling it back in. This hole I dig extra deep to put the logs in. Not necessarily that it's really good to go extra deep when you're just putting a tree in the ground, but since I have to bury the logs just a little bit, that's why it's extra deep. So, chicken manure, I love throwing it around. It's like, I don't know, why not? So first things first, nice big log. It already had some fungal blooms. In the ground it goes. And we've got our nice sandy soil to fill in around it. Knocking some topsoil down, mixing things up, finding some urbanite. So more logs going in. That one will kind of be interesting. Alright. More manure. At this point, I'm pretty close to back to the soil surface. Most of that work was just to bury those logs. And actually this one I don't really care for. So he's gonna stay up a little higher, just so it's not like a wall. He'll go someplace else. So then, I'm looking at the depth of my tree, because I also still need it to not be too high. I might not have brought enough soil. So I'm about 4 inches low, which is going to put this guy a little bit higher than I usually plant, but that's okay. I also usually don't plant trees this big. Good why. So right here we're getting a big mix. Not a lot of white roots. A little bit. Not very root bound either. I'm actually doing this more so he'll maybe drop a little lower. That's pretty high. But just go with it. I can always go get more soil and create more swale. So nice and high, that's for good drainage. The site, again, has a lot of sandy soil, so it's not a huge concern, but drainage is important. So now it's just liberal applications of manure in the sand as we go, and I'm going to start using some of this. Now a lot of the stuff, I also can use this guy just to help me with my volume, because I am in need of some volume. And everything's going back in. You don't want air gaps, that's for sure. I haven't had any issues. Some of these trees, I did this method with all the trees all the way back to April and May, and I actually haven't seen a lot of blackberry coming through real strong. It wasn't really a concern on this one because there's blackberry already here, but I can see where spreading a noxious weed by just moving your soil like that might be an issue. Last little bit. I'm just going to be a little bit short. I planted this guy a little bit higher, so I'm going to run back and get just a little bit more of that soil from the swale. This guy will be nice and high, and he'll have a little king's throne to look on around him, but just hang tight. I'll be right back. We'll finish this. Alright, so I got some more soil. We'll finish this up. One of the things about planting trees is that you never want to cover the crown. A lot of air exchange, a lot of really important processes go on real close to the soil surface for the tree, and so changing that, it kind of makes the adjustment more difficult. So this tree is having to adjust from a certain culture and a certain media, a certain watering regimen to the new one. So we want to make that as smooth as possible. But when we get about to level, this is when I start adding my compost. It's basically just leaves that I've broken down. Not really high fungal. I kind of had the pile and I just always added the kitchen scraps and just waited about right at this level. And then the reason I went and got the extra soil is to create that sort of rim dam to give yourself a reservoir for watering. Because I definitely am going to water this tree at least this first month, It's a nice time of year to plant. That's why I'm excited to plant, because this is our season where our precipitation is greater than our evaporation. But here, let me build a quick rim like I'm talking about. So there's, it's just all messy. Lots of weeds mixed in. Phone call. You can see it starting to form. But none of this is covering that crown. And just because I remembered it, more manure. Alright. So what this is going to do, it's going to allow me to come here with our watering system, which is a 5-gallon bucket, and I can pour that whole thing in here. I don't have to worry about it running too far away for this tree to get it. Right now, this tree, all its roots are right here, all in this one spot. As quick as it can, it's going to have roots all over the place. So we have a nice big reservoir for catching water. And come in with more compost, because this is our new soil surface area. This is our new, active area where we want a lot of bacteria, a lot of, just microorganisms and even macroorganisms, earwigs, worms to come into this area. Just ain't roly-polies, they're good ones. So it's very light. I'm putting on, maybe there's some staying on top of the root crown, but that's it. These are roots right here, so it's not much. And sometimes I don't even do the compost part. It's not like it's a mandatory thing. They've gone in all different ways. So once it looks like this, now it's time to get our mulch layer on. Mulch is hugely important. For the trees, I definitely prefer the wood chips, but right now I've used them all up, and I haven't had anyone bring out any more. So I bought a bag of leaves that's been sitting out for a while. It's a surprise. It's not my leaves. It's a lot of pine needles, but you know what? Why not? And some Asian jasmine. Who knew? Asian jasmine is mulch. And some boxwood, or maybe a Savannah holly, some small shrub. Great stuff. Why not? So mulch is awesome.